Hi guys, FrostFangs here, back again, of course, with another Paladins video. I'm playing some Nyx today with a few different setups I've got ready for you here, because I've had a slight change of heart since the last video, and I'll get into that over the course of today's one, because there's quite a few things I forgot to talk about. I wanted to keep that video kind of short, wanted to upload it around the time of the update, covering Nyx and Payload and stuff, because Payload was only going to be around for like less than even half a day by the time that video released, and even now when I'm recording this one, it's nearly gone. By the time this video is out, I'm sure the limited mode will be replaced by the thing for the weekend, but they were having some problems with it. People were crashing. I think they disabled some of the maps. Console specifically, I think was a little bit scuffed, although obviously, yeah, not the Switch. So this will probably be a slightly longer video. I'll be talking about different things, and I want to hear from you guys, of course, again in the comments, because it was quite nice reading through the ones in the last video. The first two things I forgot to touch on: the bounty store is gone. They've removed it. They have replaced the rewards with some other stuff, but the bounty store as we knew it is just completely gone. They had tons of trouble with it, I think, during its lifespan, but yeah, it's gone now. To me, not that big of a deal, but it is pretty important, and it is for a lot of others, so I thought I should mention it. I just forgot to in the last video. And the second thing, which is also kind of related, is the Trials of the Realm is also gone, at least temporarily. Although with the Trials, they did say that after reevaluating, they might do something, so look out for future news, I suppose, on that. We'll see, obviously, as time goes on, what they end up doing, but I don't necessarily think that the things disappearing are a bad thing, because hopefully after they reevaluate, they take their time and they look at the different systems and stuff, because Paladins has got a lot of different things: event passes, trials, quests, loads of stuff. Maybe they can refocus and sort of put things in a good direction and focus on the things that matter more so than maybe some systems that aren't worth putting their time into as a developer. I'm not sure. Again, I suppose we'll just see how it goes. I think the bounty store's kind of gone, but the trials specifically, even though I didn't really pay that much attention to them, I thought were a really cool idea and gave people just stuff to actually do, because at least to me, and I would love to hear from you guys on this, Paladins I don't think does a great job at sort of setting up stuff for you to grind or unlock or progress. I wouldn't say that Paladins does a terrible job, and it does have some good systems, but I do feel like other games do it significantly better. I feel like there's loads of things Paladins could incorporate that would make playing the game quite a lot during the day actually more rewarding, and maybe get some cool shiny things to show that. I don't know. I feel like I talked a lot in the intro today, but I suppose I'm just making up for yesterday's video being so short and things that I wanted to put in that one and I forgot, so I'm kind of putting them in here. I was intending to talk a lot more about the builds, and I'll do that, I suppose, in between game 1 and 2, but I got two different ones set up. We won't be using the standard Nyx setups today. Still going to go for the show of force talent, but instead of picking the standard one, which I showed you, which I still really like, although I think I tweaked it a little bit since the last video, I got two different ones here. Damage, which is similar, has devastating blows in there to get the extra range on the damage, you know, drop off, and then the one around the F, which I'll talk about later, because we're not going to be playing with this, and I'll tell you why. But this one is what we're going to be running, and I'll try and show it off. It does give you a little bit more output at the exchange of health. For game 1 though, Godslayer, Soul Collector, Life Exchange, Sand Trap, Aerial Assault, Enveloping, Spirits Chosen, Show of Force, and Sound Trap again. Like I was saying in the first video, she does have a bit of a problem with damage. I feel like she has nowhere near as much output as it feels like you should have when you're here swinging your arms and, you know, trying to punch people to death, trying to chase down the Charlene here. We'll pull him in, finish him off. I can see the tick damage. There we go. Don't know if I'd say she's lacking damage. I'd more so say that she could do with having some of it repositioned, and maybe a few parts of her kit, other than just like a basic hit, getting some sort of buff. I think the F specifically, I'm going to talk about it a little bit more when we're in between game 1 and 2 here, is a thing that could do with some really interesting changes, and I hope that they do something in the future, because there's a lot of cards there to support it that I think would work, and that setup that I've got there, I think if they buffed the F a little bit would be really fun. But yeah, this set makes her feel significantly stronger. There is some weird problem with the actual basic hits, like coming from the floor, going from the wrong spot. I don't know how to properly explain it, but that's a big reason why she feels worse. I realized that after playing quite a few games with her messing around in the target practice. She has something weird going on with her left clicks. In that first video when I said it felt like they weren't hitting, it's because when I watched the footage back specifically, they just weren't. They were going somewhere else and they weren't actually leaving my hands where they actually should have been. And even with the sort of buggy left click, it makes your output feel quite a bit nicer, because you don't have to be as close to get that full hit. And over the course of a game, especially if you're sort of dueling with someone who isn't a Nyx and you're not punching them directly like that, it really adds up. Being finally coming through here and giving us some heals. I was trying to get some from the Ceres, but that didn't really work. We'll pop the F. Do I go for the ult here? I guess we can just throw the wall. The setup obviously also makes a really big difference. I think if you're playing her without like any sort of setup and you're using a default one, you're going to have a really rough time, I think, with Nyx. Get some shots here on Vatu, finally finish him off again. Setup coming through clutch with that extra damage. Calling it extra damage is a little bit misleading. You're just like sort of adjusting the drop off, so you don't have to be as close. You have to punch at this range. You can go kind of like here, it feels like, and still deal the full amount. makes her feel significantly better. And instead of 5.6k health, you have 5k. Running a setup without the speed on the Q, or specifically the right click, I like both ideally in the standard setup, but there isn't really space for it. It's going to have a really hard time because playing her as a slow character and like a slow tank, she will tank a ton, but you're just not going to output like anything. As you can sort of see here, we're hitting for seemingly full damage, and she's actually kind of far away. And if you're dueling another Nyx, you're going to notice it even more because you're going to hit her for quite a bit more over that fight. Sarah's going for the ult. I don't really know how to place myself here. I don't think she hit anybody with that. We'll have the right click throw it just there. There we go. Her right click is really strong. Without the talent, it doesn't last any time at all. That's one thing they could do to make her feel quite a bit better, is make the right click duration that it is with the talent sort of the default, and then make the talent even like a slow or like a longer duration, because the duration it has with the talent feels like what should be normal, and the normal sort of one feels insanely short that the slow is barely even like there. And I'm sort of thinking about it a little bit more. Maybe the slow should actually only be on the talent. That's the right way it should be. Like the extra duration where it's actually usable as it's slow and stuff should be the talent. That kind of makes sense. As you can see here though, the basic attacks are a little bit weird. But yeah, the right click I suppose is fine. I would like to see the charge up a little bit faster, because when you're fully charging it, it takes a goddamn minute. As you can see, if I'm charging it mid-fight, that takes a little while for something that I don't think should be that freaking long. We'll drop the Q down here, get some more punches on her. Really am just dueling away here. Seems like we got the push though. There's the 4-1. What a quick goddamn game. A good showcase for it too. There are the stats for game 1. Shouts again to the team. But just to go back to what I was sort of saying at the start of that last game, this setup has so much potential, and I would love to see them buff the F or do some changes to the F where this can actually be playable, because right now the damage it deals is 5% of their max health over 6 seconds, which is nothing. Your punch deals pretty much more than that. I like the idea of it being sort of a reveal, a poison aura. That's really, really cool, but the way it works now, the damage on it is non-existent other than just to tick and sort of track people, because in my opinion, with the way she is at the moment, she is so close to greatness, but putting this many points into the cards just doesn't pay off. You get a huge radius and you get like a really cool effect, but the damage on it is still tiny, even like again fully trying to buff it. And the one thing that I think would be really, really cool, would fit into her kit, would make a ton of sense, whether they make it a talent or in her base kit. Again, would love to hear your thoughts on this and share it around if you agree. But her damage should scale up on the F depending how close you are to her. If you're far away, you get ticked for nothing, but it still ticks you for like 1 or 2 damage, whereas if you're super close, it ticks you for a crazy amount, which would play into her sort of chaining you in. They could make it part of subjugation, even though this talent is already kind of strong with the root there, but the F is a little bit jank, so that's why I'm not really running it. And yeah, honestly, I just feel like that would really fit her kit. And then I'd also probably tweak the F so that it doesn't just end the second you pull them, because that wouldn't make sense. Maybe it like does an explosion like a second after, with like a percentage of whatever damage would have been over time if you just kept it up. So if you insta-pop it, it'd deal way more, and if you do it right at the end, it's, you know, a minimum of like 300, 400, 500 damage or something. I don't know, there's so many cool things they could do, but the F, I feel like, is this close to being such a cool ability that would really play into everything, and that is why I was kind of showing off the builders, because this would be sort of the thing that I imagine I would run with it. Maybe they change some other stuff, but you get the idea, hopefully. You can't say that I didn't warn you this was going to be a bit of a longer video. For game 2, we got Siege, Splitstone Quarry, a Dredge, a Sky, a Ying, and a Mave up against an Atlas, a Bug, another Nyx, of course, a Furia, and a Pip. So we'll go with the same sort of damage thing here. It should work quite well. We got Hurl, Life Exchange, Debilitate, Cat, Burglar, Combat Medic, Show of Force, Cherish, Bulk Up, and Unstable Fisher. But just in case it wasn't kind of obvious already, my thoughts for Nyx very much line up with my thoughts with this update in general. A lot of potential, and hopefully the direction is good going forward, but right now just a few awkward bits about it, but it's so close to just being fantastic. It's kind of hard for me to explain with words, but hopefully you get the sort of message I'm trying to get across, similar to in the first video where I just have a bit of a hard time wording what I mean, but it hopefully does translate. I think this time around maybe I've been able to word it a little bit better, but still, yeah, a lot of similarities between the update and just Nyx in general. I feel like with this damage setup here, we are outputting a lot more. She is so goddamn tanky, especially if you go for the health setup. You are trading out that damage, but the tankiness she has, if you've got a healer, is just crazy if your healer's doing good. We'll go for the ult. It does pull people from above and below a little bit, which is kind of nice. I haven't tried below too much, but I know above it does heal income pretty hard. That is a wipe. The idea I proposed with the F would also play into the ultimate so goddamn well. The shots here just actually aren't going out, as I sort of showed in the last video as well, but yeah, I guess that all blocks the right click. I don't know why I thought that it wouldn't, but yeah, the F damage scaling would work so well with the slow that you throw out with your right click. You ultimately pull people in, your Q that slows and speeds you up and stuff. The cards for are really important. I do still think that the one where you can like miss hits and still keep your chain should be part of our base kit, even if it is just level 1, because without it level 1 it's kind of rough, and I don't usually like cards that you have to run that are like level 1 in the build, because I feel like that should just be base kit stuff. Although obviously I do like builds being important, having to have a card level 1 in a build or else it's just going to feel like awkward to play. I don't like, especially with, you know, Paladin servers being Paladin servers, that chain being so fragile would kind of suck. So I feel like they should incorporate something with that into a base kit so it isn't as punishing if you're just not running a card level 1, because especially for newer players it's going to make that experience a little bit more rough. We'll go for the ult here, pull them all in, pip ulted, but maybe we can kill the back here. My damage just sometimes feels like I'm not doing anything. There we go, there is the 1-1. Our Ying is doing a great job on heals, but this is actually a pretty tough matchup. I just realized two people on our side have the same name. Okay, what is their Nyx running by the way? Let's take a look. Extra health. I'm actually pretty sure that's my setup. Am I going against someone who's running my exact thing I showed off in the video? That would explain my going up against her here is a massive pain in the ass. She's using my own setup against me, although I'm not sure if other people have also, you know, sort of realised the same thing works really well. It's a huge knock. There's the wall. Ying has been healing like an absolute goddess so far. She really has been putting in work. That's an Atlas rewind, but I'm the same amount of health. I'm just going to stick on the objective here and cover these guys. We'll throw that there. I don't know if I really mind the charge up. The collision on it is a little bit weird. The charge up on it maybe is fine though. I would like to see the talent possibly make it faster, because again, that would be a really cool way to make the talent specifically around the right click if it also made, like, you know, the slow, the extra duration, and then also charge faster, because right now it's such a strong ability but it takes so long to get that to full percent. Get there on the back to throw him away. Dredge with the ult, nice, that's there. Nyx out, okay, rewind, there's the Q. I really like the way the F works with like insta-kill stuff, especially like a Joker's ultimate. It feels really nice to counter. That Sky with the ult, Pip with the ult, okay, Atlas actually saved my ass there. We'll load up the right click, hello back. There's actual right click that I couldn't detonate. Alright, stun, we're fine. We'll pop the F, get on it here, drop the Q. Am I on it? I am on it. We are touching here. There's the Q. We'll go for the ult. Sure, that's a stun. Maybe we can just wipe them here. Dredge spam is going to really combo with that kind of nastily. So right click, we are ticking and slowing her like crazy. There we go, it's push up on the Furia. Definitely feel like the servers make a really big difference with the Nyx. If you're on a rough server with the connection being all spotty, especially if, like I said, if you're not going for the build, if the servers are scuffed, you're going to have a really, really hard time. I feel like she's significantly more server dependent than you'd expect her to be, considering she's like a close range punch character. We'll throw the right click just here, kind of in the floor a little bit if you want to get that quick detonate. There goes back as well. Well done, team. These guys are putting in work, man. We'll grab more Haven. I feel like she actually does have quite a few options with items. I always grab Nimble and Haven. I do that on a lot of characters, but Chronos, Morale Boost, Rejuvenate, Veteran are all optional. These four, I feel like you just kind of pick two depending on the scenario, but Ying here is doing well enough without Rejuvenate, so I'm probably going to go for maybe Chronos. Don't know about Morale Boost here. There's a right click for the buck just to push him over there. Hello Atlas. Another rewind when I'm like full health anyway. Drop a Q here. Her Q feels very similar to an Atlas wall, just like slightly modified, but I guess that's what they were going for. Do we go for the ult? Oh no, we'll throw that there. We'll push in, go for the ult here, maybe get them out in the open for Dredge. Playing around the corner. Sky with the combo. That was nasty. Jesus. Does have a lot of potential with the ultimate, and I like that. I do like her ultimate. They could do a few more things to make it slightly more interesting, but honestly, with the way it is now, it's still so much fun. It's like you're just a big Ceres ultimate. It really makes you feel like a boss character, which is why I want the poison to also tick up, so the ultimate combos with it. But there we go. There is the victory. What a quick last round. Atlas tried to jump on it, but Dredge and Ying were holding it. I was just kind of dancing around, not really doing very much right at the end there, but even if they don't up the damage on how close you are to it, I'd love to see it tick faster the closer you are. Even if it's kind of subtle, I just feel like it plays so well into the way she's meant to be viewed as like a boss character, you know, really tall, you know, demon poison character. But anyway, enough yapping. There we go. There are the stats for the second one. I'm going to end the video here because my voice is just shredded, and I think I got most things out that I wanted to get out in this video. Shouts to their Nyx there. She did a great job with the actual build. Thank you so much for watching. I've been recording here for like an hour, but hopefully I was able to cut it down to something reasonable because I yapped a lot in this one. I appreciate you though staying all the way till the end. Of course, I'll see you all really, really soon. Leave a like if you've enjoyed. Thank you once again so much for watching, and as always, stay frosty.